Hello, my name is Schawee. My real name is Bruce Schawee, but call me Bruce, I'll ignore you. I've been Schawee since I was little bitty. Um, I've been a beekeeper for 27 years. Um, I started out just like everybody else, you know, got a hive in an old deer stand I cut out. I did my first cutout with a chainsaw, you know. I kept that hive for 18 years before I lost it, and I let it requeen itself, you know. But today we're going to talk about splits. Splits does a lot of things. You can increase your apiary by doing splits. It helps out with swarming. Um, it's just a whole matter of things. There's so many ways of doing splits. I'm gonna show y'all some real simple ways of doing it, and then we're gonna progress from there. Um, when I first started and was getting into it, when I was doing splits, I would do what they call a walkaway split. Very, very simple to do. And what it is, first of all, to do a split, you have to have a lot of bees, okay? I have people that call, say, I want to do a split. I said, well, how many bees you have? Well, I have a deep, maybe almost half, 3/4 full. You don't have enough. And you don't want to do it early. You have to have drones flying, okay? Not drones if you pull out a frame and it's full of drones and they're capped and stuff like that, you still don't want to do it because it takes about 25 days for a drone to mature. After it hatches, it emerges to where he can mate, okay? So just by having cells and capped drones in your hive, that's still not the sign. You have to have flying drones and plenty of them. So in that situation, when you have a double deep full of bees, you have a lot of drones, they're flying, and it's probably going to be usually mid-March, end of March. Again, it depends on the weather. Like this year, it's going to be early because we've been getting warm weather and the hives are booming. But other than that, if everything is right and you want to do your split, the first thing you have to do is check to make sure you don't have swarm cells, okay? And to do that is real easy. You can go to your double deep and you take that first box and you crack it open, you flip it over like this. And then you look at the bottom, okay? You either gonna have cups or cups with eggs in it. If you have cups with no eggs, you're fine. But if you have cups with eggs, they already kicked into that swarm mode. So you would have to change that idea on them. It's a different technique to do it. But let's say you don't have no swarm cells, they didn't start everything looks good. You take this box and you put it on the side. I like to stand them up like this. Some people put it down on the side, but the frames will come down like this. I like to stand them up like this. You check this one. Most of the time, if you're going to have swarm cells, they're going to be in that top box, okay? So if everything is right, you don't have no swarm cells, and this is the original hive where it's at. You want to go in each hive. You can't find the queen. You don't have to look for the queen. You make sure you have eggs and young larvae in both hives, both boxes. Look at your feed. If you got more honey in this one, split it up. Make sure you have honey and pollen in both of them equally, okay? Then what I used to do when I was doing it like this is the original hive, the spot. People say you have to take this box and move it 3 miles away. You don't have to do that. You can actually leave them apart, okay? But when you do that, all your field bees out of this box is going to fly to this box, okay? So it's not going to leave a lot of bees in here. So what I did was I'll take this box, original spot, move it over 8 inches, okay? Then I take this box and I butt it 8 inches, right up to it, okay? The original opening to the hive is here. So what the field bees are going to do, they're going to go out, when they come back, they're going to go into either box, okay? If this box is getting more bees than this box, you move it over some. Vice versa. If this one's getting more, you move it over. But you equalize it. You close it up, you check it in 7 days. You go in and you start checking this box and you see eggs. Well, this is where the queen's going to be. So you can take that box and just move it over, okay? This box, you go in and you see, make sure they make it, you should have queen cells, okay? They should be capped, all right? The way it works, after they hatch from the egg, when they make emergency cells, they'll take larvae up to 3 days old to do it. So when you get a frame and you got some queen cells that's capped and some that's not, the ones that's capped will older larvae, okay? There's 2 things you can do. You can just leave it alone or you can kill them, okay? The reason for that is, I'm not saying they're going to be the perfect queen. They're not going to be your best queens, because when they decide to make a queen cell, they'll feed that larvae raw jelly, and they all get raw jelly the first day. But then they switch over to bee bread when they're making worker bees. But when you do this, when they're queenless, they have to make emergency cells. So they'll actually start using larvae a little older than what they usually do if they choose it themselves, okay? So they can use larvae that's 2.5 days or 3 days old. Well, in 6 days of larvae, they're going to be capped. The one that's not capped is probably the larvae they use at a day or half a day old, you see? The ones that's capped, they were fed bee bread, so they got off the raw jelly. So you're going to have a good bit of them, so you can go ahead and kill them and let the rest of them go. Or you can leave them like it is.
Day 7?
That's on day 7. Because at 6 days, there should be capped. So on day 7, you go in and you got 10 queen cells, and you got 4 of them that's capped. And the other ones that aren't, they're halfway drawn out or whatever, you can kill them 4. But that's the older queens. That's the ones that's going to hatch first, okay? Because they're older. They chose an older larvae to make that queen. So that's why they cap. Because a larvae is, when they choose a larvae like a half a day old, on a 6th day it should be capped, okay? So when they choose one that's 3 days old, in 3 days they'll draw it out and cap it, you see? So when you go into it and you look at it, you would see that. So, and like I said, it's what you want to do. You can leave it alone. I had a tendency of killing them, because I'm not saying they're going to be that inferior of a queen, but they're not going to be your best queens, okay? That makes sense? So once you find that and you do that, you put it back in, you close it up and walk away from it, check it in 25 days. Don't go back in it. Another thing you have to do when you pull it out, you have to be careful with the queen cells. You know, you don't want to shake it and mess them up like that, because you can, if the larvae detach from the raw jelly, it can't get back up there, and it's not going to work out. So you have to be careful with that. Once you know they have them in there, if you decide if you're going to destroy the ones that's capped, you do it. You put it back and you leave it alone. I would leave it up to 30 days if you want. And after 30 days, you come back in and you start looking. You should have a mated queen, and she should be laying. You should be able to see eggs and young larvae. And that's what we call a walk-away split. I mean, there's really nothing to do as far as, you know, it's real simple. I did it when I first started, and that's how I did it, you know. I always did put them side by side, and it just dawned on me when I was watching them, all the field bees were coming back in this box. I said, well, wait a minute, if I slide it over, you know, it splits it. So your field bees will go, it will equalize. And then once from there, you do what you want with them. You know, if you want to leave them there, or if you want to move them, you move them. Again, I move beehives during the day. I said I move them during the day. I'll close them up at night. I like to move. I work all my bees at nighttime, moving them and stuff like that when they're all in there. I set them up where I want, and I really don't deter them for what they want to do. If they want to go back to the original spot, I don't really, it doesn't bother me to let them do that. But you can put a lot of branches and stuff in front to let them work themselves out there. They know, say, hey, look, something's wrong. We have to work our way out. They're going to reorient to that spot. I had a friend that I told that's what I would do, and he would do it. And he said it didn't really hurt his hives by not even putting anything in front of him. And he moved it like 40 feet from the original spot. So it's what you like to do, okay? This is what I, you know, again, walk away split real easy. And as I go along, I'm gonna ask, you know, anybody have questions on this procedure? You know, it's just straightforward, simple. This one here, you can do it like this, and you end up with 3 hives. If you want more than that, if you have the bees, you can make other splits by taking bees out and just introducing a frame with some swarm cells on it. What I do is I harvest my swarm cells. That's some of the best cells, queens you can get. They chose it. The way it works is your swarm cells is probably your top-notch queens. Supersede cells, again, that's top-notch queens. When you graft, that's up there with it. I wouldn't say that it's going to be, you know, top-notch like the swarm cells, but it's pretty close. I try to graft up to a day old. Half a day is what I'm looking for, and stuff like that. So, and that's what they do too. You know, they'll pick one, you know, it's not right close to a half a day old to make the queen cells, you know. So the younger the larvae is, the better it's going to be, you know. A young larvae, half a day old, is much better than a 3-day-old larvae as far as queens go. If, you know, the half a day old is going to be more superior than the 3-day-old larvae. So, but this is another way of doing it. The next one is what we call a divider board. I never really did many of them like that because I started grafting and raised my own queens, and that's how I do all my splits. Again, that's going to be later on, but a divider board is a simple board like this with screen on either side, This one here I made, it was 1/2 inch. You can use 3/4 inch. It's better than 1/2 inch, but I made this just for tonight. I don't even use this no more in my hives. But the way it works, you got your double deep. And again, you want to check to make sure they don't have swarm cells, okay? Once you do that, you take the box off and you go through both hives. You want, again, you want eggs in both of them, okay? Eggs and young larvae. If one box got more food source than the other one, you want to equalize that. Once you do that, again, you don't have to find the queen, okay, on this one. You take your screen board and you put it on it. Okay, like I said, I forgot the bottom boards for these, but the entrance is this way. So you want to take this board and you want to put the entrance to the back, okay? Then you take this box and you set it up on there, okay? But once you do that, you put your top on and you walk away. In 7 days, you come back. And again, you go in it. And usually in a double deep, when you do this, the queen is usually in the top box. Not written in stone, but she should be in there. So you go in the top box, and if she is in there, again, if you're going in there, you see eggs, you take this box off, take this off, and you go in here and you look, okay? And then when you see that they're drawing cells, well, you knew this is the one that didn't have the queen. But the thing about this, you can actually leave this on for a while, like this, because the bees from the top box is going to use the back entrance. The bees from inside of here is going to use the front entrance. So let's say if the queen's in this box, you want to take this box off when it's ready to do, after the queen has made it. You take this box with the queen, the old queen in, and you set her off to the side. You take this box and you set it that way, okay? She's ready to go. She's going to have eggs, young larvae, brood, food, and everything. This box here, when you move this box over to where you want, so she's the queen, you put this box back in its original place with the queen cells and stuff, all your field bees are going to come back to this box, okay? Which is fine, because this box is going to be a while before they're going to have brood and stuff in it. But you take this box and you move it away. All your field bees are going to come back to here. She don't need them, okay? She's going to raise her own over there. It's already gone. So everything comes back to this box. And then it's ready to go. And the reason why you use this is when they're together like this, they know, let's say if the queen's in the bottom, these up here know that they're going to be queenless within 8 to 24 hours. They know that they're queenless, okay? So they're going to act like another hive, even though they're together. The double board at the bottom, what it does, it keeps the bees from touching each other, okay? Because that's how they spread the queen pheromone through the hive. By, where the queen go around, they're touching the queen and they're touching each other and they spread that. So they cannot touch. So the queen pheromone cannot go in this hive unless you mess up and they can, it's not that much of a gap and they can hold hands or whatever they want to do. But it keeps them separated. So this one acts just like a different hive. It's another hive. So they're going to start building queen cells. But in the meantime, the bees are, from the bottom, the heat is coming up into this box, so it's helping them stay warm, okay? Once they make the queen cells and stuff like that, and you're ready to split them out, you can go ahead and move them. But I would move the old queen away from the spot, set this one down with the entrance to the front, and all your field bees gonna come back to here. The hive with the old queen, she's gonna be rolling over there. She's already laid. It's gonna take probably 25 days for this one to start getting back in the groove, with eggs, and she gets mated, and she makes it back from a mating flight to continue. Let's say if something happens and she doesn't make it from her mating flight, and you don't want to continue on, you can take the original hive, bring it back, and join it back together. Okay. So, and you can do it with a newspaper combine. You just put a sheet of newspaper between the box, put this box on top of it, and they'll eat through the paper. It'll take a couple of days for that to happen. In the meantime, that queen pheromone, once they start, because the queen, the bees that's lost the queen never had, they won't have the pheromones on it. So really they can, usually when it's like that, I just smoke them and just put them together, because they were queenless, so they don't have a queen pheromone, so they get accepted quicker. But just putting the smoke kind of help that out. But if you combine in a hive, let's say you lost a queen and you want to combine it, it's not much, you do a newspaper combine. And that by the time they eat through that, then they're good to go. Okay. Any questions on this one? You move the old queen after it's all done away from her. That way your field bees will come back to the original spot. Right. And she's going to continue laying. This one here is going to take a little while for that to happen.
So when you say away, you mean in the same bee yard?
You can put them in the same bee yard, yeah. You can put them 6 feet away. The worker bees, I mean, you can put it right here. The GPS is telling them here.
And the original box with the queen, they have brood hatches daily to take over.
So they're going to be taking over, and she's already laying, so you're not really losing anything with that. Right. Okay. So that's 2 ways of doing it. Real simple. The only thing I don't care for this is I got to make so many of them. Again, I get a lot of this wood, so I mean, cost-wise, it's not that much for me, but time is valuable to me. During the off season, I do a lot of deer hunting, so I really don't have time to sit there and make all this stuff, But yeah, I see it.
Show them how it is a double screen.
Okay, you have screen on the back, and I use my staple gun because I left my other staple gun. I use my big staple gun to do this. That's why it came through, but it's not really, like I said, I just put this together just for this. But you have your screen at the bottom, and then you have the screen at the top. And you have a 1/2 inch gap. But if you use 3/4 inch plywood, it's going to be 3/4 inch gap. Okay. As far as the size, you got people that would cut most of this out. Okay. You don't really need to do all that. You can make it smaller than this. But if you use it bigger, you would put a little strip in between. So like I said, if it's long, you don't want the middle to sag and touch. You see how I can put them together and it touches? So if you put that cross piece in, it keeps it separated. But a 3/4 inch plywood is probably the best. Is best. Like I said, I just put this together just for tonight. So, but this is how it is, and then you put your little strips, and then you leave a opening for your entrance. And it don't have to be big. This is plenty big enough. And like I said, when you put it on there, you want it opposite of your entrance from your other box, because this top box is going to turn into another hive colony until they raise their queen, and then you do what you want with it. So
like carrying it with me when I go to yards is if you got a hive that swarms on you get there, you big hive, you get there, most of the bees are gone. You look, got a bunch of queen cells, well, you know it's swarm. Make sure you got queen cells in both, and do the same thing, just put it in between the two boxes, now you double your chances.
That's my next thing on but that's fine. So we go back to this. Okay, that's two of the easiest ways. You know, the easiest one is to walk away, and then this one again, you would have to invest in boards, and again, it depends how many bees you want. You know, I started out with one, and I'm at 250 plus. I really don't know how many I have. I have a lot. The 18-wheeler don't come to my house no more because my wife gets mad when she sees that, because she knew I spent a lot of money, you know. So, but this split here is what he was talking about. So you go to your hive and you check for swarm cells, and lo and behold, they got swarm cells. Okay, so you take the box and you put them side by side. You have to go through them. This one here, you have to find your queen. Okay, they never swarmed yet. You came in there, you caught them. Let's say two scenarios. This one here, they never swarm. So you have to find your queen. I have people, been mentoring for 3 years, and the only time they see their queen is when I show it to them. So sometimes it's hard to do. But you have to find your queen and take her out. Okay? And you pull a frame out, and you see on that frame with a bunch of bees, and they got cap brood and stuff on. You put in another box or a nuke box. This one here is probably preferable for a nuke box. You put her in there, keep her away. So you go to all your frames, and you have to be careful when you pull them out, because a lot of times the swarm cells are going to be on your top box, and a lot of them going to be attached to your frames on your bottom. So when you pop it loose, a lot of them going to get destroyed. Don't get discouraged with that. They still have a lot more. So you go through them and see what frames have the swarm cells. Okay, so you got them together. Both boxes are full of bees. So you got, let's say you got 4 frames with swarm cells. Okay, but you only want to make 2 more hives out of it instead of 8. You know, because I'll make how many they have. But so you got 4 frames with swarm cells. Okay, so that's the 4 frames with the swarm cells. So you go in here and you got some frames with cap brood. You give it to the queen. Okay, you get a frame or 2 of honey, give it to the queen. So you can set her up with some bees, some honey, and some empty. If you got drone comb, put that in there. Set them up in a nuke and move them where you want to move them. If they need a little more bees, you can take some frames with bees on it and shake them in that box. Okay, so you have her set on the side. So now you're dealing with these swarm cells. So you go through everything, and you got one box, you got 6 frames of honey. The other box don't have but 2. So you want to divide that up equally. Okay, so you divide them up. Okay, so now they equal bees, honey, and pollen. All that's in there. So you take this frame, and you got 6. You're going to take 2 of them, and you're going to put in each one. So you got 6 to 8 swarm cells on these 2 frames. Okay, you don't want to put all that in there, because what can happen is they can still swarm because you got a lot of bees. Okay, so what you want to do, you want to kill all but 3, minimum of 3. 3 is a good number. Okay, don't kill them all and leave 1, because that 1 can be a dud, and then it's not gonna work. But at least leave 3 of them. If you got 4 on this one and 1 on this one, you can leave 1 and you can kill 3 on this one or 2 on this one to make it 3. And if you want 4, that's fine, but 3 is a good number. And when I was doing it, that's what I was leaving. That way, you pretty much sure you're gonna have a good queen, one that's viable. Okay, because I have people that would just get 1, and I still do it today. You know, because I harvest all my queen cells from swarm, all my swarm cells, and I'll make splits and I'll put them cells in there, and some of them just don't hatch out, and you open it up, it's empty. So you do the same thing to this one. You leave 3 of them in there, and you put it in, and then you put it in the middle, close them in, and then you fill the box up with the 2 more frames here and 2 more frames here. So once you do that, you close them up. You can leave them side by side. You then took that 1 hive and made 3. Okay. Now, if you don't want that many, you can still leave this old queen alone in case one of these queens didn't make it back from a mating flight or something happened to her. Then you can take this queen, old queen, and introduce her to this hive, and then you don't lose anything. Okay. So she's like a reserve, just waiting. She's 2nd string or 3rd string queen back. And she ain't gonna be a quarterback. But if you want to continue on, you can let her grow and then put it into a deep, and then you have 3 hives. It just depends what you want to do, what your outcome, what your goal is, as far as how many hives you want. Got to remember, the more hives you have, the more it costs.